All right, so today we're diving deep into a YouTube video.
Deep diving.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah. So this one is about stocks buy now during the market crash.
Ooh. Very timely.
Yes.
Like-
Very, very timely.
I like it.
Yeah. So it's from the channel Fin Tek.
But,
And yeah, we're just going to kind of like go through it and see what we think.
yeah, let's unpack it.
So he starts off, and this is something that really resonated with me at the beginning.
Okay.
He's like, okay, there's this huge market drop.
Oh, yeah.
Like-
You've seen that.
We've all seen it. And, you know, it's a little unnerving, but he's like,
Right.
this is actually a great opportunity. And he's coming at it from a really cool perspective, I think.
Yeah.
He's like a solution architect
Okay.
for Fortune 500 companies.
Uh-huh.
He's been in technology for like 5 years.
Okay.
So he's like,
Interesting.
I invest in what I know.
Hmm.
And he's like, I like to, you know, look at data.
I like that approach. Data over emotion.
Exactly.
Data over emotion.
Yeah. Especially in times like these. Uh-huh.
And he's like, you know, my personal portfolio is pretty volatile
Oh, great.
because it's all in,
Great stocks.
high growth tech stocks.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm in it for the long game,
Okay.
like at least 10 years.
Got it. So long-term horizon.
Yeah. So he's talking about growth stocks, value stocks, and core stocks.
Right. So a nice mix there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he starts off with growth stocks.
Okay.
And he's like, are they a good value after this recent sell-off?
That's the question on everybody's mind. Right?
Exactly. And he's like, Morningstar.
Oh, interesting. Pulling in some third-party data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, large and mid-sized growth stocks are still kind of overvalued.
Okay. Still a little frothy.
Yeah. But small cap growth stocks,
Interesting.
which are companies under $5 billion in valuation,
Okay.
they're actually trading at a discount right now.
Nice.
So he's like,
So there's the opportunity.
that's the place to look if you're looking for growth.
All right.
And so his first pick is,
VBK,
what is that?
which is the Vanguard Small Cap Growth ETF.
Oh, so an ETF for that sector.
Exactly. So it's just like you get all the small cap growth stocks.
Yeah, diversification.
Exactly. And you don't have to worry about picking,
The individual stocks.
Exactly. Which could be some of those like
Penny stocks.
penny stock companies.
Yeah.
So it's a little safer,
Interesting.
but still risky.
Still risky.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Okay.
And then his second pick is SLY,
What's that one?
which is the S&P 600 Small Cap Growth ETF.
Okay. Another ETF.
Another ETF, but this one is like, they have to be profitable.
Okay. So
With little different flavor.
it's like they're profitable and they have some strong momentum.
Okay.
No.
So a little more proven track record there.
Yeah. He said over the last 5 years, it returned 95%.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah. But he's like still high risk, high reward.
Yeah. Of course, small caps are going to be inherently a little more risky.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then he goes on to, plug his sponsor, Invest in Pro,
Right.
which I thought was really interesting
Yeah.
because you can use it to find stocks. You can screen for stocks that are under the radar.
Oh, cool.
You can screen for stocks that are under $10.
Oh, interesting.
And it gives you insights for potential upside. Like, here's all this research
Okay.
on this specific stock,
Makes sense.
and it'll give you a little buy or sell indicator.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you can even track what Warren Buffett is investing in.
So following the smart money.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's like, I'm not saying you should copy what he's doing.
Right.
But, it might be worth a look.
Yeah. It could be insightful.
Yeah. And they're offering 15% off for our viewers.
Nice.
Yeah, if you use the link below.
Sweet.
So then he goes on to value stocks.
Okay. Value invest.
Value investing. Classic. And he's like, value investing is all about finding companies that are generating cash.
Yeah.
And trading at a reasonable price.
Cash is king, as they say.
Yeah.
Right.
And so his first pick is
Okay. Nubank.
Nubank. I've heard of that one.
Yeah. It's NU.
Okay.
And it's this digital banking platform in Latin America.
Got it.
And mainly Brazil.
Interesting.
He's like, it's growing super fast.
Okay. How fast?
It's like it has almost 95 million customers.
Wow. That's a lot of customers.
Yeah. It went up 22% year over year.
Okay. Huge growth.
Yeah. Over $28 billion in deposits.
Wow.
And 58% of the adult population in Brazil uses their app.
What?
Which is a super app, by the way.
Oh, really? A super app?
Yeah. You can do all sorts of stuff with it.
Wow.
Yeah. So then he's like, but their valuation is under $50 billion.
Okay.
And their PE ratio is 23.
So kind of pricey for a bank?
Yeah. Like Stockopedia says it's kind of expensive,
Interesting.
but he's like, they're generating so much cash.
Okay, yeah.
And they have this crazy growth.
Right, so there's that trade-off.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Warren Buffett owns a bunch.
Okay. That's always a good sign.
Yeah. Like his company, Berkshire Hathaway, owns like over 86 million shares.
Wow.
Which is worth almost $1.2 billion.
So he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah. And they're expanding into Mexico and Colombia.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like he said, they had like, a lot of early success in Mexico.
How much success are we talking about?
Like 5.6 million credit card customers.
Right.
It's up 70% year over year.
Huge.
Yeah. And almost half of those are first-time credit card holders.
Really? Wow. So tapping into a whole new market.
Yeah. But he's like, they're going to have to tailor their offerings to each country.
Yeah. Makes sense. Every market's different.
Right.
Got it.
And he owns just under 1,400 shares.
Yeah.
It's about $13,000.
Right.
And he's like, it's been kind of flat so far.
Yeah. These things take time.
Exactly.
To play out.
Then his next pick is Intel.
Intel. Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah. And he's like, this one might be a little controversial.
Okay. Why is that?
Because they've been kind of like, missing the boat on the whole GPU thing.
Yeah. They haven't really been keeping up with NVIDIA.
Right.
Right.
And he's like, in 2024, they reported a net loss of $18.8 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big loss.
Yeah. Whereas NVIDIA, just in the last 3 months, has
Yeah.
made $22 billion in profit.
So it's like night and day.
Yeah. So he's like, some people are worried about Intel going bankrupt.
I can see why.
Yeah. But he's like, what they have going for them is that they make chips in America.
Okay. That's
So
true.
it's just becoming a matter of national security.
Yeah. With all the supply chain issues and
Right.
everything.
Yeah. And they're possibly doing a joint venture with TSMC.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he's like, there's this whole Sheet Chip PS Act that's
Yeah.
supporting U.S. manufacturing.
Yeah.
But then he's like, Trump might push back against it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's kind of like,
Add some uncertainty.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
uncertain. But he's like, for a value investor, the stock price might be too low
Okay.
because the market's wrong about their future.
Interesting.
And he's like, the government might have to step in to
That like-
save them
Why is that?
because they're too important for national security.
So I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like either bail them out or like somebody buys some of their assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He said TSMC might buy some of them
Mhm.
and Trump might push for some kind of investment accelerator.
Wow. So lots of potential moving parts there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's a gamble,
Right.
but it could pay off.
High risk, high reward potentially.
Right. Then his last value stock is
Right.
VSAX,
What is that?
which is the Vanguard Small Cap Value Index Fund Admiral shares.
Oh, another index fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Morningstar says that small cap value stocks
Okay.
are like the cheapest in the market.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, like they're trading at 75% of their value.
So super undervalued.
Yeah. And so this index fund just focuses on small cap value companies.
Yep.
So it's like less risky.
Right. Diversification again.
Exactly. Than picking individual small cap value stocks,
Yeah. Makes sense.
which could be penny stocks.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. So it's like high risk, high reward, but maybe a little bit safer.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So then he goes on to core stocks,
Okay. Core stocks.
which is like a mix of growth and value.
Yeah. Kind of a balance.
Yeah. And he starts by talking about the Magnificent Seven.
Who are those?
Like Apple, Meta, NVIDIA,
Right.
Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Tesla.
The big tech companies.
Yeah. And he's like, they make up over a third of the S&P 500.
Wow.
And it was only like less than 10% in 2014.
So they've grown tremendously
Yeah.
in their influence.
Yeah. And he's like, they've had some sell-offs lately.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah. So his first core stock is Google.
Google.
Okay. But like specifically the C-class shares.
Okay.
GG.
GG.
Yeah. And he's like, it's up 169% over the last 5 years. But it's down 28% recently.
So bought the dip a little bit.
Yeah. And now it's back to like 2023 prices.
Okay.
So he's like, everybody knows what Google does.
Right. Advertising, cloud, AI.
Yeah. But what's really impressive is their revenue growth.
Oh.
Like in the last 4 quarters, they've had 15% growth,
Wow.
13.5% growth, 15% growth, and 11.7% growth.
So very consistent.
Yeah. And now they're making almost $96 billion every quarter.
That's insane.
Yeah. And their forward PE ratio is about average for their industry
Okay.
and even a little cheaper than other software and IT companies.
Interesting.
And he's like, it's trading at a pretty average price for the whole market,
Yeah.
even though tech companies usually have higher valuations.
Right.
Yeah. And he's like, I think the market's underestimating.
Google Cloud.
Yeah, Google Cloud and AI.
Yeah.
But of course, he's like, there are risks.
Like what?
Like they're exposed to tariffs.
Right, because they export a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the stock price could still go lower.
That's always a risk.
Yeah. He owns 123 shares.
Okay.
It's about $18,000,
All right.
and it's down like 11%.
Okay. So he's feeling it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then his last core stock
Okay.
is Visa.
Visa.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, they have the world's largest financial processing network.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Everybody uses Visa.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can handle over 65,000 transactions per second.
That's mind-boggling.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're investing a ton in AI for fraud fighting.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they bought this company called Featurespace.
Interesting.
And they're also like doing a lot of cross-border payment solutions.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. They bought Currency Cloud and now they've integrated it with like 3,400 banks.
Wow. So they're really building out that infrastructure.
Yeah. But he's like, it's actually underperformed most other credit card companies.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Yeah, and it's down 13.6% this year.
Okay. So what's going on there?
He's like, there are some worries about government regulation.
Ah.
Like the Justice Department is suing them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they're like monopolizing the debit market.
Interesting.
Yeah, like over 60% of U.S. debit transactions.
Wow.
Yeah, go through Visa.
Makes sense.
And then there are also worries about consumer spending.
Right.
Yeah, because,
Economy's not doing great.
Yeah, and they make money off of transaction fees. So
Yeah.
if people aren't spending money.
They're not making as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, there are also some specific issues in Asia Pacific.
Okay. Couple
Like China's business sentiment is weak.
Yeah.
And they're having some real estate problems.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to wait and see what happens with the tariffs and consumer sentiment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then I'm going to look to buy it when the PE ratio is closer to 20.
So looking for that dip?
Yeah, because right now it's above 20.
Okay.
So that's it.
That's all 7.
That's all 7. So we
Okay.
had the 2 growth stocks,
All right.
BBK and SLY. We had the 3 value stocks,
Which were?
Nubank, Intel,
Yeah.
and VSAX.
Got it.
And then the 2 core stocks.
Google and Visa.
Yeah, Google and Visa.
All right.
And he said if you want to see his whole portfolio, he puts it on his Instagram.
Okay.
And he does like daily stock breakdowns.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So,
So there's a lot to think about there.
yeah. Like, he's presenting a lot of different ways to invest.
Yeah.
Like, you could, try to go for high growth with, like, smaller companies.
Yeah, I don't
or
know.
you could look for undervalued companies.
Right. Or you could go for those big, solid companies.
Yeah. Or you could just diversify with ETFs.
Right.
So what do you think? Like, which approach makes the most sense to you?
That's a tough one. It really depends on your risk tolerance and your time horizon.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're younger and you're willing to take on more risk, you might go for those high growth companies.
Yeah.
But if you're closer to retirement, you might want to stick with something a little more stable.
Yeah. So it's really a personal decision.
And, even within those categories,
Yeah.
like, do you pick individual stocks or do you go with an ETF?
Right.
There's a lot of different
Yours ticking
ways to approach it.
That's why we do this show, right? To unpack all these different ideas and options,
No.
give people some food for thought.
So what are you going to research now after this?
Well, I'm definitely intrigued by that new bank.
Yeah.
The growth is really impressive.
Yeah.
And the fact that Warren Buffett is in on it
Yeah.
makes me want to take a closer look.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And like, what about those Magnificent 7?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are they still a good investment or,
Right? Are they overvalued now?
yeah, or are they going to keep dominating?
Yeah.
Like, those are all things to think about.
Absolutely. And those ETFs, too, I'm always a fan of diversification.
Right.
So, maybe taking a look at those small cap growth and value ETFs. There's a lot to unpack.
There is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're watching this, what are you going to research?
Yeah. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Let us know what you're thinking.
We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's it for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.